Welcome to Jumperman Tech. It's another day in paradise. I tried starting my car earlier, and the car wouldn't start. I was about to get a ticket on the street, but luckily a young man came and helped me, and he actually jumped out my starter. So I went to the auto supply store, I picked one up, and I'm going to show you guys how I replaced this. I went about this was I pulled out my multimeter, set it to DC volts. Red goes on positive, black goes on negative. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but I have a 12.61 volt reading, and I realized it wasn't my battery. I tried to crank the engine and I got nothing. So what happened was that this nice guy working across the street just happened to see me struggling, and we put the keys to ignition. And the first thing we try to do is we try to tap the starter, because sometimes that works. You could, take something, whatever you have, like something hard, and tap the starter, maybe even tap the solenoid, and you might give it a go and it might start. It didn't happen for me. So the next step was we put the key in ignition, and he went under the car and he actually jump started the starter with a saw. I'm gonna show you guys a clip.
The car is not on it. You stole my keys?
Oh man. Yo, you're the freaking man.
Yeah, man.
That man, God bless him. I really appreciate him doing that. He really didn't have to. I gave him a little something as a token of appreciation. And what I did was I went to the auto supply store and I picked up a new starter. And we're going to start taking apart the old one, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. This is my first time replacing this, but let's do it. Quick start guide. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to start by disconnecting our battery. And we're going to start by disconnecting the negative. Ford E250, and as far as the starter in this vehicle, it is located under the passenger side. So we're going to get underneath the truck, get set up, got my socket set, some nut drivers, and let's see how this goes. Starter, solenoid starter, and one thing you want to do is take a look, visually inspect your terminals. There's a lot of corrosion on here. This could be an issue. So what I'm going to do is, before I connect my new connections, I'm going to sand down these terminals and get a nice contact. We got a few bolts here. I see 1, 2, and I believe there's a third one back there. And let me see if we can take this down. I don't know if there's any slack here, but let's just remember how this goes. And just put the same stuff back on the new one, and let's get to it. Red cable, red indicates positive, so this must be our positive. And right here I can see a black, which is just grounded here. So I'll start by disconnecting the wires to free this up, because there's really not much slack. And then I can drop the starter and get this going. You guys don't have the greatest memory. What you can do is take a picture like I will right now, just so you remember. Take off this positive. Wire seems to be some sort of other positive. I believe that comes from ignition. A lot of rust coming out. ground now. My socket just made it. Oof. The bolts need a deep socket for this one. Larger socket doesn't fit in here, so gotta work with this small one. Okay. One down. Two more to go. Bowl, which is extremely hard to get to. Barely making it. Gotcha. Feel for it. Let's see if we can even get it. Guys, I barely made it to the last screw. This is last nut. Yeah, okay. 3 nuts sounds so easy, but just get into it. Oh man, whoever invented this spacing, man, is freaking genius, I'll tell you that. So that's that. Alright. Here it is. Got to it. So here's a new starter. Start by mounting this in the correct position. Right there. Dropping bolts. Start with this one. Get it in place. Put in my 3 nuts. Put on my 3 bolts. And then wire it up. Place, look at this, barely fits. So I'm gonna give this thing this final tightened. And then we can begin to reconnect the wires. And before I do that, I'm gonna sand down the connections, make sure we got a good contact. All mounted. Here's my 3 wires. Okay, so got a little piece of sandpaper, so what I'm gonna do is just sand this down a bit. Give myself a good connection and then rehook them up. Got all these down, much better connections. So that we're just gonna hook up 3 wires back, our ground back to the base. This lead is gonna go on here, and our positive to the positive. So I'm gonna hook these up, and I'll show you guys the end result. Got the wires hooked up, ground, hot, and this thing is super sturdy. Looks great. I'm gonna reconnect the wires at the battery and see if this thing starts. I'm just gonna reconnect the battery, and while I'm here, I'm just gonna sand out these connections. You could tell. I'll show you a quick difference between that quick sand and that. So I'm gonna sand down these terminals, hook up my negative to negative and positive to positive. Make sure we got a good connection here. Down both these terminals and this piece right here. So let's hook that back up. I'm gonna get a little spark right there. So I guess that's about it. And let's see if this car starts. That's how you change the starter. Alright guys, it's the moment of truth. I'm not gonna lie, this is a bit nerve-wracking. So let's start this thing and pray to God it starts. Whoa, we're up and running. Here we go. We have a car again. Oh man, I'm so glad right now. So that was about it. If anybody found this video interesting or helpful, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys next time.